Hey, what's up, good people? It's Jay Ray, the co host of Q Points, and I wanted to come to you because there are two really important ways that you can support our show. One is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. The other thing that you can do is you can visit us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Podchaser, and you can leave us a star rating. Please rate us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points. And on Apple Podcasts and on Podchaser, you can actually leave us a written review. It's not required, but it really does help to spread the word about the show, and it helps people to discover it as they're looking for new podcasts to listen to. We're always appreciative of you supporting Q Points. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us so far, and enjoy the show.
All right, now welcome into the sanctuary, everybody. Welcome all church girls and guys. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
My name is Jay Ray, also known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay the Third. What's happening, people?
You are now tuning into your favorite podcast. And yes, I said your favorite podcast, Q Points, your safe space for meaningful discussions around Black music, Black artistry, and all things in between. Jay Ray, how has your week been?
My week has been glorious. I was actually just remarking, like, there's just so many things that have happened that I think are really, really good this week, both creatively and work-wise. And even here on Q Points, like, I'm always excited that we get to be here on Thursday nights and give the people what they want. So it's been good. How's your week been?
The week has been fantastic, not without its challenges, but still able to overcome them and come out on the other side. As you said, I look forward to every Thursday getting on this mic and tapping in with you guys and just feeling the energy. Sunday was so dope because this past Sunday we linked up with our guy Big Mike, and we got something really great for you guys. I can't wait for you all to see it.
My goodness, y'all. We have cooked this Black country music series that we have been cooking with Big Mike, though.
It's simmering.
It's
simmering. You're going to be able to catch that odor in a minute. It's good. It's real good. I can't wait for you all to try it out. But Jay Ray, a lot has happened this past week.
We got a lot to catch up on before we have our guest. We have an amazing guest, and we cannot wait to get there, but we got to catch y'all up on a lot of stuff this week. That. Yeah.
For sure. We like to pay our respects and say goodbye to the great Dr. Terrence Dean, author, pioneer in the music industry, somebody I looked up to. I had the pleasure of meeting him years ago, over almost a decade ago, down here at a book signing for his novel Mogul, which was groundbreaking at the time. A published book talking about a novel talking about the music industry and all the rumors that we heard over the years about gay people, gay men specifically, working in the music industry and all the trappings that comes with it. But what always stuck out to me about Dr. Terrence Dean is that he was always nice. Every time I saw him, he was always nice, always willing to speak with me. And I'm just saddened that he transitioned at such an early age, super early age, right before his birthday, because he is Team Virgo, like me. And very sad to see him go.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Dean he had a book. It was the Reclaim Your Power, a 30-day guide to hope. He was a professor at Denison. and was just an individual that impacted so many people through his work. And I never had a chance to meet him, but I know that the people that did, just like you, Sir Daniel, have the same stories. So his death has really impacted our community tremendously. So we absolutely want to send love out to his family and his friends, because that's a tremendous loss.
Absolutely. Also, we want to send whole space for yet another very strange and tragic accident that happened at a concert, at the Medusa concert stage. What country was that in
That was
again?
in
Is that
Spain.
Spain?
Yeah.
Spain. And the stage collapsed
Yep.
due to the weather. This is not the first time that we've seen horrific accidents like this at concerts, but it never gets easier to look at or to even hear about
Yep.
because it's just that traumatic.
Yeah, like and one of those unforeseen things. We have a picture of the stage, and it was a monster of a stage. Not the whole
Yeah.
thing. The whole thing didn't come down, but just those winds, I know that I saw a column fall, but the winds overtook the concert, and they and unfortunately, I think it was one person that lost their life, but there was a lot of injuries. So definitely sending love out to those folks, our brothers and sisters in Spain that were at the Medusa concert.
Yeah. And we gotta send well wishes and get well soon energy to Scales of the Nappy Roots. Let me tell you guys something. Atlanta is a wild place. It is not. If you came here in '96, Atlanta is not the same Atlanta as it was back then. Atlanta is a very wild place. It still attracts people that want to create, that want to make places and spaces for all of us to enjoy. And Scales created a brewery. There's not a whole lot of black owned breweries, period, but there's not a whole lot of black owned breweries in the city of Atlanta. And he is the owner of one. And he was involved in a terrible, terrible attempt on his life
Yep.
and a robbery. And now he's recovering in the hospital. And we just want to shout him out and give him some good energy.
Absolutely. And Scales, man, wow. So back in my olden podcast days, Sir Daniel, I think you know this, but my fifth show of Seeing Sounds was with our good brother Jeremy Avalon. Shout out to
Yeah.
Jeremy Avalon. And back then, I traveled with my gear, and so I went to Jeremy's house, and Jeremy was like, "Oh, my cousin Scales, he went by Fish Scales at the time, happens to be here." And I got a chance to meet him. And I set up literally Jeremy and Scales. We talked for like 2 hours. So my fifth show is a 2-part show that I have this rap legend and this DJ legend on. And we're literally sitting around the table
Wow.
talking, because they were both mourning their uncle. And we were just having 3 black men just sitting around the table, just chopping it up. I got a chance to meet Scales' family and all of that stuff. So just a good dude, and definitely sending him love, because that was just a crazy story to read today. So
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
listen, I don't even know what the answer is. We'll probably have to have some conversation on Q Points and invite some folks on. But we're still having the conversation about the violence. We have to figure it out. I don't know what the answer is, but we got to do something.
It's a very precarious place to be in right now. Just navigating, life period. We got all these different things coming at us. We got things on a political level that's trying to take us out. Then we have the economy doing its thing. People are trying to make a dollar stretch to each paycheck. And then on top of that, we have violence in the community, having to watch your backs. And, I try and add levity to my life every time I can, because that's the only way that I can get through. Is that, me, I'm a jokester. I like pranks. I like I like telling dad jokes. I like hearing dad jokes, all of that stuff. Anytime I can do anything to take my mind away from the troubles of the world,
Mhm.
I'm going to do it. And if you're like me, you want to join me, yes, because I'll be there. I'll be DJing.
You will be here.
I will be at our good friend JB's Record Lounge. JB is producing a comedy show, and it features the comedy of none other than T. Sanders. She will be performing her set. I will be DJing in between and at the beginning and then at the end and in between, just so that we can all have a good time. If you want to join us on that evening and you want to let go of the woes of the world, you want a good laugh, make sure you come out and join us at JB's Record Lounge for a night of comedy with T. Sanders. It's Saturday, August 27th, so you still have time to get tickets. If you go to JB's Record Lounge on Facebook, it will take you to an Eventbrite link. You can click that and you can get your tickets there. It's limited space, so you want to go ahead and get them now because you want to be up in front. Well, I'm not going to sit in front. Well, I'm not going to be on the side.
You're gonna be
working.
behind. Yeah, you're gonna be behind the turntables.
I know J. Ray does not like being up front in comedy shows because
I don't want to be in the room.
A chance to be
Although I want to
roasted.
see T. Sanders, I do want to see T. Sanders. I would go see her, but I would be in the back.
Yeah, because that is a chance. That's a risk you take going to a comedy show because you could catch a stray. Because comics are always looking for something, and you can catch a stray every now and then. But I think it's well worth the ticket money just to come out and congregate safely like adults and just have a good time and get your laugh on with T. Sanders at JB's Record Lounge. Yeah, you might want to come down for this one, J. Ray.
I gotta make it back to Atlanta. I'll be back soon. Get ready, Atlanta. I'm a fall through. House in the Park is coming up.
That's true. Virgo season is around the corner because it's your boy's birthday.
All of that. So you're gonna be spinning for your birthday.
Yeah, all of that good stuff. But you know what you're about to miss though? You are about to miss another slow drag.
Oh, and I love these flyers. I want to come to Slow Drag so much.
I'm telling you, shout out to Whitney and their crew. Slow Drag goes down this weekend, this Saturday at the Love Below, which is a beautiful. I told you I went last time, right?
You did, yes.
Super, super sexy setup. It reminds you of like an old speakeasy back in the day. Mm-hmm. The blue lights are definitely popping. And you can bring a date or you can come by yourself if you just want to hear some like sick slow grooves from the 70s and dance with each other, or not. You could just watch and party, and there's lots of smoke in the air from various sources, and the bar, all that good stuff. So make sure if you want to see what Slow Drag is all about, that you tap in and you click the link that's in the chat right now and check out Whitney and the crew over at Slow Drag. There's a lot of stuff going on this weekend, J. Ray. I'm doing Sugar Honey on the Rocks on Saturday morning.
As you should.
Our special guest has it popping on Sunday, but we're going to talk about that some more. Mm-hmm. But J. Ray, and before you go out, people, I want you to make sure that you go out and that you are well.
Yes. And things are out here, kids. We still got a COVID and we still got a monkeypox. It's time for our now weekly monkeypox update. I got an update this week, Sir Daniel.
I want to hear all about it.
So, shout out to the good folks at William Way Center in Philadelphia, who were working with the Philadelphia Department of Health. Noticed I said the Philadelphia Department of Health because that's where I had to go and get my monkeypox vaccine. Yeah. But they have been holding vaccine appointments for the last couple of weeks, and I was able to email, I was able to fill out the form, get my appointment. I was literally, like you, Sir Daniel, was only in there for like maybe 15 minutes. And that was just waiting for people to cycle through, but it ran like a well-oiled machine. I had this lovely two old white women, like these ladies, and I sat down. They were the nurses, and I sat down, and they pulled out their little form, and I was like, "Child, what are they about to ask me, Lord?" But they were so sweet. And they asked me all the things and, checked. It was like, well, it appears as though you are eligible. So what arm? And so they injected me. Now,
Damn.
I don't know. So I was told that this was going to happen and they let me know. They was like, listen, it's going to feel tender right there where we inject you. And I still feel it. And I've actually read up that that's actually a normal thing, that you will have it for a couple of days. But yeah, so I still can feel where they injected me. It's not like excruciating pain. It's just awareness. But it went really well. So I shouted out the Philadelphia Department of Health and William Way on the Twitter, because you know what? I know that we always want to shout folks out when they don't do well. We have to shout folks out when they do well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. And so then if we're going to do that, I want to shout you out because you did something very well the other day for the webinar.
Oh, yes. Oh, thanks, man.
Let the people know, give them a follow-up on what happened with the webinar.
Yo, check it. So last Thursday was hip hop's birthday. Happy 49th birthday, hip hop. And so, baby, we getting up there. So to celebrate it, the Counter Narrative Project, or CNP, that's where I work. That's what my day job is. You know what I'm saying? And I had a conversation with Dr. Antonia Randolph, who's currently writing this crazy dope book about masculinity and hip hop. So anyway, me and Dr. Randolph got together and had a conversation about HIV messaging in hip hop through the years. And so we chatted about 3 songs. Look Who's Burning by Ice Cube. That's a rough song, y'all. That's a rough song. Wow. Ice Cube in 1991, both brilliant and problematic. Like they went hand in hand, all at the same time. It's crazy. So Look Who's Burning by Ice Cube, Jimmy, of course, by Boogie Down Productions. Shout out to Miss Melody and KRS-One and D Nice for their brilliance. And the other song was Let's Talk About AIDS by Salt and Pepper, which of all of the 3 songs that we covered, was like the winner. It was like they did everything right. It was like, okay,
they got it right.
They literally got it right. So, but we had this really dope conversation. Here's what was really cool, y'all. What was really cool is within an hour of doing the webinar, I got an email with the subject, the best webinar I've attended this year.
Deserving. Very deserving.
So
Jerry's
shout out
gonna
to
put
CNP.
it down, yes.
Oh, listen, I'm so grateful for the support that I have with my CNP, the CNP tribe. So follow CNP at CNP tribe on all of the social medias. And but I'm so proud that we do this work, because we were having a really unique conversation to honor hip hop's birthday, like talking about hip hop and HIV messaging. Like, come on, y'all. Like, so yeah, shout out to CNP for one, making sure that I'm good, but also making sure the community is good. So
absolutely. And we see some new faces in the chat. Shout out to Shanae. What's up to our longtime listener and our friend Trey? We see you. Thank you so much for always tuning in. And to everybody else that hasn't put anything in the chat, we welcome you into the congregation. All the church girls and church guys tonight. This is going to be such a fun conversation. But before we get into that, so people are dropping new music.
Yes.
Meg Thee Stallion has dropped new music. Tink, Nicki Minaj, all of them have dropped new music. But I want to just give a shout out to Meg Thee Stallion. There's a clip of her floating around with Ebro and I can't remember her name right now, but she used to be on the other show with Joe Budden and that other guy. I can't remember her name right now, but they were having a conversation with Meg because she's got a whole album that just came out. And Meg had a very, very vulnerable moment discussing what I can't imagine losing a parent at a very formidable time in your life, because she's still very, very young.
Right.
She's not even 30.
Yep.
Meg is still very young, and she's experiencing all this success at a very young age without her mom,
Yeah.
who was her biggest cheerleader, who was an MC herself.
Yeah.
And it was that moment when she was like, every time something good happens to me now, I want to automatically share that with my mom, and I can't. And yeah, it's one of those moments where it makes you think about all the stuff that we do, we take for granted. And it was the way she laid it out. Friends like you and other friends that I have that have recently lost a parent all say the same thing. It's like the grieving never completely stops. Sometimes it comes at you in waves.
Yeah.
And she had a wave during that conversation. And yeah, the music is dope, as Meg does. And so I know folks are checking that out. So shout out to Meg the Stallion. And yeah, and then Tink.
Yep. I'm excited that finally we get some Tink. This is going to be, I'm really looking forward to listening to the new Tink stuff.
She's had a precarious journey,
to say the least.
a lot of situations, money wise and label wise, and working with Timbaland, and now she's working with Hit Boy. Now did you see this? There's a clip of her and I forget. Is it? No, it's not Ari. Is it Ari? Somebody. She and another young lady are doing a remake of The Boy Is Mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a little clip.
Let me
floating out there.
Find it. You see, my brain had to do like a whole thing. Like it was computing what I was hearing.
Yeah. Anybody watching right now, drop it in the chat if you heard the clip, and just drop like one or two words of what you thought of Tink's remake of The Boy Is Mine. And Nicki Minaj also is dropping new music.
Yeah, like it's an interesting time. I'm excited about all the new stuff. I'm excited about the incorporation for the moment of house aesthetic into the music. I'm a huge house head, so that's interesting. I put something up on Twitter this week to the effect of, I think we will know the impact of the Beyonce and the Drake albums if the same folks who are loving this new music embrace the classic stuff on the dance floor at the same time, because that's the thing, right? Like I'm hoping that folks go back and be like, whoa, like what's the origin story of this? And when it drops on the dance floor, that they get their life as much as they're getting their life to this new stuff. So I'm excited about all the new joints. I haven't listened to the full new Meg yet, so I need to finish up on that, and I'm still catching up. I've been playing a lot of that Beyonce, which is interesting. I've played it almost every day since I got the CD. I forgot how much I like playing CDs. Like, I got a new joint that I like, something different that I like all the time. I discover something new all the time, and you know what? That's the mark of a good record. So.
Absolutely. And so, but before we go on to our special guest who is waiting in the wings, and I can't wait to chop it up with him. We were talking, you mentioned the whole club music, house music resurgence, and it also makes way and makes room and give recognition to a lot of queer artists that have been making dope music. And I gotta shout out Cakes the Killer. Cakes the Killer is so ill. As an MC and has somebody that has been pioneering the merging of hip hop and house beats, and really killer live in person. Oh my God. Yeah. I'll never forget, he came down to Morehouse and did a performance. And my guy, in the midst of rapping, he got off the stage and started a conga line with the audience that wrapped around the whole auditorium. He never missed a beat. He never missed a lyric. He stayed on, never missed a breath. He stayed on point. But Cakes the Killer really deserves a lot of love and a lot of shine. So I just wanted to take that moment to shout him out really quickly, because he had a moment recently with Kevin Aviance,
Yeah.
who is also getting some recognition on the Renaissance album, because he sampled on the Renaissance album. So it's really good to see two legends on stage just ripping it down and just having a good time. So this is a great moment in music, and I think, like you said, we just need to give these artists some love.
Give them some love. And can I make a other note too? They were both performing at Native Sons Black Queer and Here at the Apollo
That's what
in
it
New
was.
York.
Yes.
So definitely want to shout out Native Son. Want to shout out Emil Wilbekin for the work that you have been doing. Like, we really appreciate you, bruh. And yeah, so that's where they were performing. So that looked like it was a really dope event. And I think it's time. I think I have a bio to read.
I think it's time too. We don't like to have artists waiting for too long, because artists can be temperamental, and they can be sensitive about their shit, like Erica said. But yes, let's introduce our special guest. Please.
My goodness, y'all. So we want to absolutely welcome DJ Saint Smith to tonight's show. So I'm going to read Smith's bio because it is meaty, of course. The new classic is being redefined thanks to R&B crooner Saint Smith. Hailing from Baltimore, Maryland, shout out to Baltimore. The 27-year-old singer-songwriter is blending today's R&B with 90s soul music. Inspired by artists from D'Angelo to B. Slade, Smith has created his own unique sound and donning it Church&B. We cannot wait to talk about this.
Yes.
So, already performing with and impressing the likes of Faith Evans, Tweet, and Kim Burrell, to name a few, Smith is proving to become one of R&B's most promising new acts. Growing up in a dual pastoral household, Smith was introduced to music, particularly gospel, at an early age. Inspirational acts such as the Clark Sisters, the Winans, Shirley Caesar were the soundtrack to Smith's budding artistry. When left unattended, Smith would secretly listen to secular artists like Prince, D'Angelo, Faith Evans, and Maxwell for hours. Quote, "They've really helped shape the way I think musically. I grew up in church. Both of my parents are pastors, so I definitely have a heavy gospel influence in my music and concepts." Now residing in Atlanta, Saint Smith has taken up a new musical craft of DJing and has been performing all over the city. Yo, it is time to welcome DJ Saint Smith to the room. Welcome.
How you feeling?
Thank you. I'm feeling great. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I feel like this is actually my first interview as a DJ. So I'm very, very excited about that and happy to be there. Hopefully I'll drop some exclusives that, make the headlines tomorrow.
Okay. I know that's right. Some gems. We gonna go viral. We're gonna have a viral moment tonight. Let's do that.
Yo,
that's our goal.
So I think this is great to start us off. So of course we have your background, but I think what's so interesting, we're curious about you, like how you arrived to this place. Like, we had Round and Round on our best of 2021. Shout out to Darius Amore. Nice. That was his entry into that. Darius is the homie. And you have all of these influences that just stew in the work that you're doing. Can you tell us about your lineage, your musical lineage? What brings you to this seat and this place in your life and your musical artistry?
I love that question because when I do like my classes and stuff, that's kind of one of the first things that I talk about, because I think it's so important to talk about your family, your musical family tree. So I'm just going to keep it current, like within the last 30 to 40 years. I'm not going to even take it as far back as I can because we'll be here all day. But I mean, I have to shout out Faith Evans. I mean, when I talk about probably the biggest inspiration to my artistry, when I do, I have to just shout her out. I don't even know how or why that is the case, but I'm just glad that it is. I love her so much. Slade, formerly known as Tonex, he is such a huge inspiration. I call him like my musical father. But then you have like the branches. So, the Carl Thomas, the Joes, the Case. I mean, he is like a musical father to me, the Kelly Price, the Mary Marys, the Warren Campbells. So, just all of those kind of, like you said, have just been doing and really informing a lot of the creative work that I've been doing.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's powerful. Do you come from a musical fam? Like, is your family musical at all?
No, and that's one of the things that I wish that I had, like that Clark sister. That's another a person. I don't know why I didn't mention the Clarks, but like Karen Clark, she is my favorite singer of all time. Like I love the Clark sisters. So like, that's one thing that I always miss. And I think that like my family is musical in their own kind of way, but not like enough to kind of like put us together and do a group like the Laws group or something like that. So I kind of like am keep in that way, but I've also kind of come to appreciate that part of it too. Like, I'm kind of one-on-one, I'm black sheep of the family.
Now, it's funny that you use that term black sheep of the family because, being in your bio, it states clearly you are a PK.
Yes.
And,
yes.
I'm pretty certain that all those of us who grew up in and around church are familiar with the whole, everything that revolves around church, including choir practice and Sabbath school, or in my case Sabbath school. I grew up Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay,
but
yeah.
church school, all of that stuff. Yes. So in your matriculation as an artist, becoming who you are and singing what is called secular music, what was that journey like, and what was there a battle to become the artist that you are now and not be a gospel, a gospel inspirational artist to please, perhaps your family and the people that you grew up with?
Okay, so I love this question too. And part of my therapy work is I am a people pleaser. So like I definitely have that, especially for my parents. I care so deeply about my parents and their opinions and their thoughts on things. And so I've been an artist for 10 years. I celebrated 10 years this year last month. So I've been in the game for 10 years. Before all of this all happened, I thought I was going to be a gospel artist. The only reason that I became a artist at all is because of an artist. I'm a shout out to Brittany Wright, who is, I think, from Cleveland, but she spent time in Baltimore by way of Morgan State University. And I saw her one time and I thought I was going to be, I always was musical. I always was like in music and things like that. So I saw her one time in live when she was like doing her debut album concert. And I mean, it literally changed like my life. I knew that I wanted to be an artist after seeing her. She was just dynamic. So it was even so much to the point that I ended up working with the team that produced her debut album. That became like my production team. I was just so moved by what she did. And so I thought I was going to do gospel. And I just remember kind of like being at this crossroads, like you said, having that internal battle where I was feeling like, okay, here's what it looks like, here's the best case scenario in both routes. And, I knew that I wanted to be innovative and I wanted to be creative. And I had seen what a lot of my predecessors in the gospel industry, what they got for the punishments they got for innovating and the punishments they got for being creative. So I thought, what I want to do, I want to kind of do something different. I'm going to go a different route. And so I talked to my parents about it and I kind of got their blessing to move forward in that way. And that they're, I think like when people think of PKs and when I tell people that my parents are pastors, they get this image in their mind of this stark like pastor, but my parents are like the coolest like pastors and just break down the word in such a way that is just palatable for all. So, I was just happy to kind of get their blessing. And once I got that, I was kind of free to just move forward. And I think just like you said, all my experiences and just my new influences and all those things just have kind of created this hodgepodge of music craziness that I can kind of like dip in and dip out of as I choose.
And I think that's the wonderful part of it, as somebody, as a music lover, as somebody who has an ear for creatives and hearing all of your influences, it's wild to me that some people can't hear the influences, the spiritual side of you in your music. Even someone like a Beyonce is not cannot escape criticism. You know, we have Bishop Patrick Wooten, who said what he said about about Church Girl and her use of the Clark Sisters sample. And then of course we also got Juanita Bynum wilding out on, you know, to Usher in her in one of her latest clips that's floating around now. When you see people like that, it almost feels like it's 1973 all over again. You're way too young to remember what that was like. You weren't even around.
Right
But
here.
there was this whole movement. I'll put it like this. When I was about 8, I think about 7 or 8 years old or 9 in school, I went to a private Seventh-day Adventist school. We had a pastor come to us and tell us to bring him all of our rap cassettes and rap albums and put them at the feet of the altar, and they were going to destroy all those records because it was secular. And it was full of demonic messages that you could hear spinning them backwards. I don't know if y'all heard
That
about
was
backwards masking.
the crazy
Yes.
80s conspiracy
The crazy-
of play the records backwards.
It was called backwards masking. And
Yeah.
if you played a record backwards, you could hear demonic messages being said to you on these records. So that's what it feels like it feels like we're regressing. We're regressing to burning books and restricting books. And now here comes these evangelical figures talking about music now. And how does that make you feel as an artist and moving forward in your artistry? Like, is that going to be a battle for me coming to the stage, as it were, with my artistry?
Okay, I love this question because y'all don't even know. Like, I got stuff coming that flirts with this line that y'all don't even know about. Like, it's still on the stove. And I've been talking to my friends about this, specifically about like the church girl stuff, because, you know, I am saved and I love me some Jesus. And I recently started going back to church, like after maybe 7 years. I just recently started going back to church. So, you know, my sensitivity is different, but how I've always approached it, and just with my experience, just like I said, like who my parents are, and just how I've always been raised. Whenever I do something that is touches the religious or sacred, I am very, very careful. So like even with like the party, like the water to wine party, like, you know, that was kind of like a little like, "Ugh," like I get it, but I gotta be catchy. But like, you know, I'm just always just very careful about how I approach it, because I always do want to be very respectful. You know, I don't necessarily agree with the bishop that you're talking about, but I also know that like if you're gonna use sacred and religious music and songs, you always have to be careful, or you have to be open to whatever the backlash is going to be, and you have to know that that's going to come, like especially what you're saying, you know. And like I said, I love that song. I don't have any problems with it, but I just know that's what comes along with it. The conversation happens. So just with my own personal artistry, it is so much a part of who I am that it's not like a put on, and I'm not like making it up. But I also am very sensitive about like how I approach it, because I know that it is very religious and, you know, in a lot of ways sacred to a lot of people. And I think the funny thing about this, and this is what I was like telling my friend, like when you hear these little people, like the bishop, not little people, but like the bishop, or like the Juanita Bynum, as they're saying this, you can almost guarantee that you're going to hear people saying their amens and shouting in the background. So it's like, for some people it's working, for some people it's registering and it's hitting and it's making it do what it do. You know, for me as a person that grew up in a religious home, like many others in our age bracket, age group, and, you know, have the pleasure and displeasure, how you look at it, of having pastors as parents, you know, and having not been in the church, you know, maybe in almost a decade, you know, my sensitivity is different. So when I'm hearing that, I'm kind of like, oh, like that's all. But if I was in church and I was like, you know, living that life, and it might work for me, it might hit different. So I just had to be kind of like aware of that. But I know it's kind of like roundabout, but that's just kind of how I approach it. Just, you know, I'm gonna give a reference. I'm going to, you know, have some type of church stuff in my music, but I'm always just super careful about it. So that way, if it is any like backlash or feedback, it's minimal.
And I think this is a good place to actually open, since you opened the door to this and talking about the Water to Wine Gospel Day Party.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. What's been really, really dope is listening to these mixes and these blends that you've been doing. Cause I'm like, oh, that's all right. Okay. Where it's like, all right, folks are going to be ready to hit the floor to these songs.
Yes.
Tell us about how the concept for this event came about
Yes.
and what you hope people get from it.
I love that. Okay, so how it came about. So as we've already talked about, like I have tons of gospel influences. I have tons of like R&B influences, and I just started DJing like last year, and so my experiences are still really new. But all of my gigs thus far have been private gigs. So like corporate gigs or private gigs where, it's not anything I can invite somebody to. It's like a company, like a shout out to like Slade Vegan. Like I was doing some gigs for them, or shout out to my friend's law school, Atlanta's John Marshall. Like I played their barrister's ball. So like it's like private events. And so when I thought about kind of having my own event, I just was kind of like, what do I want to do? And like, how can I do things different? Because I feel like Atlanta is the brunch/day party capital of the United States. I mean, y'all can find me. DC has a good record too, and we're going to DC next. But Atlanta is just that for me. And so I thought about like, where can I plug in and how can I get people engaged? And so me and my friend was kind of talking. Like I was like, I just wish somebody would ask me to do like a gospel brunch because I know gospel music in and out, and I know what hits. And so he was just like, well, why don't you just do it yourself? And I'm like, right? Why don't I? And so it just came about, and jokingly, I kind of tweeted about it where I was like, "Hey, I want to have a day party where I play nothing but gospel music, but everybody can like still drink and like do whatever they do." And it kind of went mini viral. So, it didn't go like thousands viral, but it got like in that 150 range where I was like, "Oh, okay, people are interested in this." So I just started kind of like just canvassing people, kind of building it out, kind of thinking about the set, and I was just like, "Oh no, we're definitely going to do this." And I think sometimes you work things backwards. So obviously that was kind of like, I love gospel music. I would play that as my first public gig. But then you start rolling it back and thinking about, wow, we're in a space now where like the Roe v. Wade stuff that happened, Ukraine is happening, all the stuff that we're regularly going through, COVID, monkeypox. And it's just like, I love what DJ Sardane was saying earlier about just creating spaces where you can escape and really just have a moment of break where you're not faced with the troubles of the world. And, day parties do that anyway, but I thought like, what better vehicle to do that with gospel music? And, gospel is like that translation of good news. And I felt like it's just so appropriate right now where gospel is such a universal thing, like where I think that we're like, oh, I don't really know a lot of gospel music, but I'm like, y'all do. Y'all really know so much more than you realize. And just kind of hearing those affirming messages and those chants and those anthems that you just are kind of like, things are gonna get better. I am healed. You're just kind of singing and saying those things on a subconscious level. But as you're, saying those things, it does, take effect, and it is very impactful. And so I thought like, hey, let's do this. This is Atlanta. We're in the Bible Belt. We're on the South. Like, people know what time it is. And so that's where it came from. And I just want people to have that experience. I want people to come feeling like, wow, like, I feel refreshed. I feel like I had a break from my day to day. I feel like, the words that I was singing over myself really did, have an impact on the rest of my summer, back to school, all those kinds of things. So that's, that was the intention behind it. Yeah.
And I have to say, I want to recognize the fact that you are creating the event, like you said, because so when I noticed that Saint was doing the DJ thing, I kind of would like every now and then I would see his clips and I would send him little DMs and be like, hey, when you're doing this, make sure. I'm like, this is my little bro, my little DJ bro. So I'm like, okay, please get yourself something higher because I don't want you to wear your back out. Stuff like that. I want to make sure that he's good because I see that he's tapped in, J. Ray, into the ministry part, the ministry part of DJing, because all of us, what we do in some form or another is we are speaking to people's plights, or we're speaking to whatever they need to at the time, right? And so I'm so happy that you tapped into that, because we have to keep doing those things, because there are not a whole lot of places where we can be free to take a direction of a gospel brunch, or like J. Ray was there the inception of my of a lot of those parties that I was doing several years ago, where I would do like a theme party of a Missy party, or a Lil' Kim versus Foxy Brown party, those kinds of things. You don't always necessarily have the creative leeway to do those things. So you, in fact, have to invest in yourself and make them happen. So I want to publicly, big you up and say, you're early in the game, but you're realizing that you got to reinvest in yourself and take those chances, and that's a really big deal. So we're not wrapping up the show, but I want you to make sure you tell people how they can get tickets, because I want everybody to support this brother, because he gets it. And what I like about what I told J. Ray, outside what I dig about St. Smith as a DJ is he's a musician.
Yeah.
So he's got the air. Got the air. He's not playing around. He knows music. So that's what made me feel like, okay, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. So please let people know how they get tickets to be at the Water to Wine on this Sunday.
Well, before I answer that, I do want to thank you personally as well, just for not only the big ups, but also for the tips. What I have been saying like to people all along is that coming into this DJ route, because I used a lot of like artists to DJ pipeline examples, like, the Solange and the Erykah Badu's, and like, seeing that. So I thought like I was possible. And I've always like recorded myself and engineered myself. So I was always familiar with BPMs and beat matching and like doing my album and stuff. So, but I will say that like, there's so much that you don't know. Like there's so much nuance to it. And there's so much like tribal knowledge that you wouldn't know coming into it. And I will say that I have been like blessed to know people that are DJs, but to have people like really invest in me, even if it's just like a tip on the DMs, or like, you seeing something that I'm doing that's wrong, that you could say, hey bro, do this a little bit different and make you 10 times more effective. So I appreciate that so much, because I do recognize like that it is a sister gift in a way, because like I said, I have been engineering and recording myself, but in a lot of ways, because of my experience and expertise in some musical disciplines, I do recognize that I do have a lot to learn as a DJ. And I mean, even watching y'all's interview last week with Artistic, I'm like, oh my God, like I really need to get my skill up. So like, just to be welcomed in that way has been so satisfying and lovely and gracious. And I always love to extend that to people coming into wherever they're coming into. So to receive that, it's like been so satisfying. And you've been like such a huge component of that. That's why I'm like, yeah, like I definitely got to have you on my party, and invite you.
I'm definitely going to be there. Please tell Les.
Yes. So
tell them how they're going to get there.
Coming to my party is going to be in Center Stage, Atlanta. So, Center Stage is like iconic in Atlanta, just a performance venue. I love Center Stage. And I came here 10 years ago and I wasn't even living here and did a show there. So it's kind of like a full circle moment for me. But Center Stage, it's going to be fantastic. You can go on Ticketmaster and get your tickets, which I love that it makes it so legit. You get on Ticketmaster and all you have to do is search for Water to Wine. I spelled it out. I didn't do any numbers. So Water to Wine, and they should come up. It is this Sunday, August 21st at 4 to 8:30 p.m. So just 4.5 hours of just pumping gospel. It's going to be so much fun. Just like I said, you get the ministry aspect of it as well. And, I think like it's just such a great time in my life where I'm being faced with having to practice what I preach, and, with struggles, going through a season of darkness. So it's like, I'm looking forward to the event too, because I'm gonna get what I need too. I'm gonna be, be ministering from that space too, where like, everything has a good sunshines and rainbows for me, but I'm pressing through as well. And I'm pressing through to make sure that people have a fantastic, experience and really leave feeling elevated and lifted. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. I really am.
Well, we have put the link. So for all of y'all, we will make sure it's in the description too. But for those of y'all that are joining, we put the link in the chat. And we put your solo.2 link because all of it is in there. So not only can you get Saint Smith's Water to Wine Gospel Day Party, you can get Saint Smith's music. Can we talk about you as a musician real quick? Like,
absolutely.
So listen, so I got introduced to you through Round and Round. Like that was like my entryway. And I'm really like one of those people, I dial into backgrounds and melodies.
Yes.
And you are like an expert at that. Like I love the layering. And I even went back to your holiday song.
Okay. Yes.
From 2000 and was like, oh my God, like he's just so good at like melody and all of that. So I hear all of the influences that you mentioned before in that, but talk to us a little bit. So you mentioned your classes, but you just said when I hold my classes, what are those classes? Tell us, because it feeds into your work. So tell us about that.
So first of all, I gotta big up Faith Evans again, because what you're talking about is just such her blueprint. Like I stole that from her, like the melodies and the backgrounds, and that's a Clark Sisters thing, obviously as well. But like those are my biggest influences, and I love that music is such an accessible training, even from like a non-technical standpoint. Like even just learning how to DJ, there's so much training that is accessible and free. Just anything that you want to learn, you can learn. And so I love that. But just as an artist, like it's just it's so cool to, like I said, be in the game for 10 years and like just have had so many experiences. And I didn't have the experience where somebody taught me via class, but there were instances where I did my own research and study, or I got a tip from somebody that I respected that kind of one up or like 10x my experience. So I have background and training in my corporate life. Like, I've always taught, like, I've always been a teacher though. Even since I was a kid, I've always tried to teach people what I know. So just as a manifestation of all of those things, where I'm like, there are certain things that people will ask you, as a DJ, I'm sure you get the same questions all the time from new hosts and like, people that are getting into it. And I was getting a lot of that for people that were trying to get into the game as an artist. And so over the pandemic is when I mean, everybody's just learning their superpowers over the pandemic. So that was my first one where I did Indie Artist Toolkit, which was just like a couple hours worth of just my must-haves, my do's and don'ts, my resources that I use to have me successful, thus far, and things that I liked and things that were really working for me. So, people need to know, like, how do you get your song on iTunes? What's that process like? And so I've talked about that. People ask me, like, how did you get your social media up? So I kind of talked about that. I can't talk about that now because I don't know what Instagram is doing now.
Instagram don't care about none of us. So don't worry about it. You just post. It's fine.
Tell you about it. Back then I could tell you, but just those things that are for people, and then just kind of making it accessible for all those. You talked about like the background and layering. So my second class was a background vocal intensive. I had Faith Evans and Duran Bernard on as my guest lecturers, and they just talked about their approaches and how they
hold on.
Pause. Go ahead.
You had Faith Evans and Duran on. Say that just one more time. We just need to make sure the people hear it.
Yeah. Living legends, Faith Evans and Duran Bernard supported me in this class because I'm like, when I think about backgrounds, Faith is like the blueprint, like I said, for my recording artist self, and then Duran, he's just so known for his work with Erykah Badu and like the live portion of that. So I really wanted to encompass all of that. So that, and then this year, most recently, I did a songwriting intensive where I had Ray Louise, I had Mel Smith, who was here in Atlanta, and just just brilliant minds and thoughts and points of view that we can just learn from, no matter the level. You on the Faith Evans level, you on the Duran level, you on my level, whatever level, we got something to say and we got something to teach. And I think it's just so cool to be able to do that and to be respected enough for people to come and sit in your face for however many hours and just hear what you have to say. And so, yeah, I love doing that education piece. I will continue to do that every year.
Wow.
So, I love the fact that that you feel like education is valid when it comes to this music game, when it comes to artistry and putting out, not just putting stuff out just to be putting it out, but making sure you maximize your talent, make sure you maximize the art that you're putting out so that it lives forever. Talk to us about, so J. Ray Smith and I follow each other on Twitter, and every so often there are these recurring Twitter questions that make us roll our eyes because it's kind of like the like a hay fever, right? Every now and then it comes around and it just it makes your eyes water, it makes your eyes roll, and you're just like, oh, here we go again, we're talking about this. Well, most recently, and this came from a very high profile person, but a question that always comes up on the social medias is always about, is R&B dead? And this time, that question was posed by none other than Mr. Sean Diddy Combs himself, which is the reactions were priceless because, hey, he really set himself up for that. But I wanted to talk to Smith. I want Smith to react to that whole conversation that comes up about what R&B, because clearly it's not about the fact that people aren't making R&B music anymore, but what people are reacting to is the evolution of R&B and what it used to sound like and what it sounds like now. And so talk to that and why we are still, and how does it make you feel as an artist, a working artist, to hear people pose that question, is R&B dead?
Wow. Oh my God, this is so loaded. I will say that, Puffy, you had no business asking that question.
Zero business asking.
I love Puffy. Y'all know, anybody who knows me know I love me some Puffy before music still what. But you had no business asking that question. So that's the first thing I have to say. Second of all, I do think, oh my God, that question is very hate feverish, but it's so polarizing because I feel like there is a little bit of something to it. I don't want to call it truth, but there is something to it because obviously we can be very clear that the sounds are very different. My criticism of that question, though, is that are people able or ready to receive that? I think, just from a general standpoint, the industry dictates what the masses listens to versus the, vice versa. But I question if people were coming out here doing all that belting and 90s vibrato and squalling and all that, would y'all be able to receive that at this time? And that question is, I don't think so, because we do have like our Kelly Prices and people like that are still making albums or records and they get no play, which I know that has a lot to do with the engine and how that works. But I do recognize that there, as a consumer artist combo here, I do recognize that there's something to it. I just wish that there was a way for it to be a more productive conversation, because what if we say that it is dead? Then what? Okay, so what happens to all the people what happens to the knees and come on, like you said, as an artist, it's kind of like, okay, but then on the other hand, like, I don't do all that squalling. My tone is I stay in my mix. I don't sing in my chest. I have a very localized sensibility. So to listen to my music, you'll get the references and you'll get the points of reference, but the actual vocality of it all is not the 90s. So you could say the same about me. So I just have to kind of that's one of the conversations that I'm like, this is very, very interesting. But the good thing is that I'm cozy. I'm cozy. I'm very cozy. I'm comfortable in my skin as an artist, and I'm very clear on my sensibility. And I know that what I put out, it will be received by who it needs to be received from, and it'll resonate with who it's supposed to resonate with. So it might be a little bit too churchy for some, and that might not be R&B enough for some, but for the people that all within the intersection of what I do, I feel like it will hit. And like Round and Round will be on my album. That was like technically the first single on my album. So, that's like a nice reference, kind of point of reference for the wavelength that I'll be on. It's going to be very R&B. It's going to have like, that church twinge, but I don't use the church twinge as a gimmick or like a crutch, but it just is very much who I am. Like, I love Black church. I love the culture. Like I said, I recently started going back. So it's very much embedded in who I am, but I just do it in a kind of cheeky way, or a way that is impactful. Like you said, the ministry of it all. Like, come on now, don't tell me you can't have a ministry moment on your R&B album. Like, somebody's going to, there's healing, And, okay, so let me say something about this. The funniest thing that y'all were saying about this reverse thing. So I've been doing some of that on my album as well, but not for the demonic purposes.
I've been like, you playing records backing on your record?
Not for sake of this, just for the sake of just like, just those references and just that touch. Like, never know. Like, hey, that's subconscious. Our subconscious do some powerful things. Like, our brain is very, very powerful, and our ability to process things when we're not processing is like so apparent and real. So I'm planning that little bit of those dark arts from my album.
Yeah.
Listen, there is power in repetition. That's why we have choruses are repeated. So it sticks in people's memory. That's why radio stations play certain records in a certain order over and over again, because it's called programming.
Right.
And there's no reason why you can't do the same thing, program people to buy your album, because Beyonce has people out here repeating "You Won't Break My Soul," and that's actually a very spiritual thing to say. You won't break my soul, because
and that's what I'm saying. It's so subconscious, where it's like you're saying and singing this, but guess what? You're building up in your DNA. Like, you're, the words you're speaking are creating your world, and that's very powerful.
It's the thing. I think what we are putting words to is the thing that we've often asked that question of the what's missing, because there's a disconnect that some of the folks that are in my, I'm gonna be an old man for a second, I do this from time to time, that are in my age bracket will say like, but there's a thing that's not there. And that's the thing.
They ain't standing flat-footed and singing. That's what I want.
But it's like that additional layer of, I was just talking about me playing the D-Train record during the intro, right? That man was standing flat-footed and singing, but he was singing these dance records that inspired the hell. Keep on. What? What? And you're singing, and you're closing your eyes, and you are throwing your hands up in the air. You in that club, you drunk a little bit.
Right.
But you are being fed, and you never will forget that feeling. So the spirit is in there with you too.
That's right.
That's the thing. That's like that extra piece of like, Break My Soul captures that, where it's like, no, like it's a chant. Like it's a chant that you need. It's going to make your day better.
And so I'm so grateful to her for tapping into that, because I know like last week you were talking about just like the queer like recognition, all those things, but also that spiritual element that's just so intentional and such a thread that's subtle, but when you really tap into it, like, I think Break My Soul is the most in your face, but there's such a spiritual thread through that I think Beyonce knows at this point that we'll sing anything that she puts out, but just being so intentional about bringing the spirit into it is like, the church geek in me is like gagging, because I'm like, yeah, that is a big piece of what's missing.
Wow.
Absolutely. It's ancestral. It's also ancestral.
Ancestral. Oh my God. Yes.
Wow.
I can't believe it's not what we've gone over a little bit in our time, but that just lets you know the conversation is that juicy.
Yes.
And just talk to us some more about, you mentioned the queer aspect and queer recognition that Beyonce has done. And just today, hitting the timelines and the everything, Tevin Campbell, confirmed or said what was vocal about the truth about his life, and that he does identify as a gay man, and that he, in his artistry, he shared the journey that he's been on with reconciling that at an early age too, reconciling that, and now being loved on for the art that he gave us.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable to me because we've always given Tevin Campbell love, but I see a lot of younger people now giving him love as well. Singing "Can We Talk" to the top of their lungs, all the time now. But how does that make you feel seeing him? Because I'm sure at some point he was an influence to you as well, vocally and song wise and all that. But how did that speak to you and him coming to that? Not even coming to that realization, but just saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, yes, and I'm okay with it."
Wow. Well, I love you pushing me to come out, but I too represent the G and the LGBT. I'm just
I'm going to say we were not doing that.
Look, I never said LGBT.
Yeah.
I never said LGBT. I said Saint Smith. I never said LGBT. I said Saint Smith.
Nah, I'm not gonna put that on. I'm not put that on. That's my own for it. So we want to go viral. So I just want to. Okay. So I just want to with G and LGBT, and I'm very affirmed by him saying that, and I feel like it's when we talk about representation matters, sometimes we talk about in the lens of like little children, right? Like, kids need to see this. And, I think that's very, very true. But also like in my big age, I need to see that too. Like I need to see representation too. And, he is a father in a way, not in an ageist way, but he is a father. And so just to see and a pillar of R&B, regardless of sexuality. So just to kind of see that stance and just to hear him talk about it, like to hear the politic around it, it wasn't just like I'm coming out, but just to hear the rhetoric around it was very, very affirming. And a friend and I talk about this a lot, like what we talk about just the presentation and how we come as an artist and what, how people receive us. And, I come from a space where 10 years ago, we didn't have like the Lil Nas X and the Saucy Tantan. So it was very like mum's the word about your sexuality and just like, it's very, they, them pronouns in your songs because you can't go too far. But just my own journey and coming to terms with just like how that works for me, just to continue to see that pioneering from people that were, like I said, that are like our R&B legends is like, oh, another one. Thank you. Let's get it. Like, who else? Because I know are there others? Like, I know there are
lots of others.
The door of the church is open. The doors are open.
It's super affirming, and shout out, a huge shout out to him, Tevin Campbell. Like I have not met him, but I do feel like in my life I will meet him and I will like get to love on him. Just just as I've willed myself to meet all my other idols, I do feel like I will meet him, be able to just tell how much his example and his voice and just the songs have meant to me is been a huge inspiration. So for sure,
it's wow, yeah, so much love to Tevin. I will say that the thing that made me smile the biggest was like, oh, he's gotten to the point where he's okay with saying this.
Yeah.
Right? And without, having to nuance it or anything like that. And also knowing that this is already a conversation that he had with his family. He's like, when I was like 19 or 20, like, so that's like old news for them, but for the public, this is new for us in terms of him standing flat-footed and saying, hey, here's who I am. And that quote, the I've embraced me part. And I'm like, oh, I'm just so happy to I'm glad he made it to this place. And he said that in the podcast, like, listen, man, when you can be part of the generation that I came from and get to this point, that's a big deal. And I need to shout out these two folks behind me. So Kipper Jones, that's Anthony Antoine over there. That's his first popular single, Swing.
Okay.
And then there's Kipper's first solo single. So both of these artists have had that journey too.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize that I was kind of doing that when I put those two people together. But even us just having this conversation about Tevin as well, just puts it all in perspective. So I'm just so happy that
I had to look up his birthday really quickly because he is very, like, even just outside of this, he does strike me as a very, like, straightforward, shoot from the hip type of person, and he's definitely a Scorpio. And it's giving that big Scorpio energy, big Scorpio energy. I get it.
wow.
So as we wrap up, I just want to second what you said, and confirm also that you will all the things that you are working towards, Saint Smith, for your future. I'm so looking forward to Sunday, to rocking out with you and the rest of Atlanta at the Water to Wine brunch day party. Not a brunch, excuse me. There will be no food there. He didn't say that. He didn't say that. I messed up.
Drinks.
There's no food. There'll be a bar. Yes. There'll be a champagne and whatnot. But I'm so looking forward to that. We are so looking forward to the album, the full body of work that will be coming forth for you, and everything that you touch. Please, as we wrap up, please make sure everybody knows how to find you.
Yes.
And how they can stay in touch with you so that we can go ahead and party with you in the next couple decades.
I love that. A couple of decades speaking to my life, I received that. Okay, so, because real quick, I seen this these clips this past week of Beyonce with Destiny's Child performing Survivor back in the day, and then she would be like, in the next 15 years, I'm still gonna be here. Yeah. And she, like, well, you're right. Okay, so you called it. Okay, so
you gotta say it. You gotta say it.
You can find me under Saint Smith on all my socials. I have here listed Saint Smith _. That's my Twitter, but I also have like a more complex. But if you just type in Saint Smith on Instagram, you'll be able to find me as well. And also on SoundCloud, like I'm DJ Saint Smith on SoundCloud, and of course I have my artist Saint Smith as well. So I have 2 new DJ mixes that I have put on my SoundCloud that are pretty good. If I do say most so myself, I really love doing that as well. So just holla at me. I'm always like if I ain't on nothing else, I'm on that Twitter and Instagram. So just holla at me. I'm always down for a good laugh, a little comment, a little DM situation. I'm always good for that. And so just come find me and come, like I said, come to my party on Sunday. Come to my party.
I love it. I love it, J. Ray. Listen, what can I say? We've done it again.
Done it again. Saint Smith, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Like, this means so much. Your work is dope. Your music is dope. I wish I could be there for the party, but I know I'm gonna see pictures. And when I come, we gonna work it out. And you coming if you bringing it to DC, so that's okay. I'll just pop down to DC. So it's all good.
Hey, I know that I invited y'all. I invited you guys and offered you guys tickets. Playing. Hey, if your people are here, that are in Atlanta, or your listeners, anytime between now and then, I'm happy to offer them some tickets as well. So send them my way, send them to my DMs, and I'll be happy to give some of your listeners some tickets because I would love for them to experience this as well. So I'm happy to do that. Please let me know.
Y'all heard it here first.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Yes. Go ahead.
So for all of the folks, make sure that you are following Q Points. Make sure that you head on over to Apple Podcasts and make sure that you subscribe and also leave us a review. You can subscribe to us and listen on Spotify as well. Make sure that you are subscribed to us on YouTube. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. Make sure that you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you are not on YouTube, we just dropped the link in the chat for you to go ahead and go to YouTube and subscribe. Hit the bell notification as well. Listen, if you like the show, You could drop us a tip. You know what I'm saying? We are a working business. We are growing Q Points, and you could drop us a tip. If you are like, ooh, I want all of what Q Points has to offer, you could become a member on our website. It has all of our extra content. It has all of the videos to our shows. It has access to the community, which of course we're still building up because we're a growing show, but you could get in on the ground floor. So there's lots of opportunities to connect with us. And we just want y'all to connect with us. So make sure that you go ahead and do that.
Well, it's like I say every show. J. Ray, what do I tell the kids? In this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. I'm Sir Daniel.
I'm J. Ray. And
that's Saint Smith, DJ Saint Smith, singer-songwriter Saint Smith, all of that good stuff. And this has been Q Points. We thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.